Well, it's new window day. Got the new window here. Picked it up last Friday, and we're going to replace this window here. And I'm pretty excited because that's the last window replacement on the weather side of the house, and we've been having a lot of storms. These old windows are leaky, the wind's been blowing through, and so the last storm just blew over basically last night, and we've got another one hitting this evening. So this is my window to replace the window. Just got back from the store getting the supplies I need, and now I'm going to get changed and get to it. First I'm going to start by removing this old window. That bit is not long enough. Alright, we're going to try this again. There we go. I've got this window held in by 2 screws, so as soon as I take this second screw, this part of the window is going to come free. These wasp nests are kind of scary, but I think they're all dead. Now this frame is pretty rotten out, so it's pretty easy to take apart. If I pull this strip right here out, then the other pane will come right on out.
Okay, right on out might have been a conservative estimate on my part, but it does come out fairly easy.
Coming apart in pieces. It may just be held in by the paint now. Got little blocks under it right here. These are what are holding it up. This one right here.
I have found that it's easier to remove these blocks and push the window down from the top, and then it comes out much easier, just like the bottom pane came out.
Just the paint. Still held in by the paint. Okay, we got a knife.
And we'll make good use of this scraper again, and the old pry bar, and here it goes. Once we get it lowered down all the way, it'll slide right on out.
Alright, there goes that one. Now I take these storm windows out.
These come out pretty easy. There's little keyways in the tracks and little plastic pieces that fit right through the keyway.
So if we got any more beetles hiding, this is probably where they're hiding. They like these little areas with the insulation.
And I won't lie, this insulation is pretty gross after it's been in there for who knows how long. But unfortunately, my pry bar just didn't fit in the groove, so I'm just going to say, you know what, whatever, I'm just going to use my gloved hand.
Alright, now I'm going to pull this frame out of here. Might need a hammer. I don't know, we'll see. Not too much hammer.
This old wood really gets me. For how rotten it is, those nails really hold on to it real well. But, you know, a little bit of prying, a little determination, and you can't stop me. So we'll get that frame right out, and it's just nailed on from one direction.
Next.
Now this little trim piece, pretty easy to come off actually. And it's kind of just an inner trim piece that goes along with these windows. I think they installed these windows, or actually assembled them in place while they were installing them. I am going to keep that outer trim piece around the edges. The city lets me do this without a permit as long as I don't change the size.
Just like that, the old window is gone. Alright, I'm going to clean a bunch of this up, break it down, take it downstairs, clean a bunch of this up, and then I'll be back with you to start framing out the new window. So next I gotta take out this base plate here. It's pretty rotted out. Just gonna drive it right out.
Pretty incredible, these base plates are not have any fasteners in them, the original base plates. They just set it in there and left it.
Now I've got a bunch of nails sticking out, and I'm gonna use Sawzall and just cut them off.
Sawzall with a metal blade works great for this. Although this metal blade's seen better days, I think I'll use a new one next time.
Now I'm gonna use this as a guide and mark out and cut out the base plate for the window. All right, I got it all cut out. Notch here, fitting right into that. Now I can go install it. Gotta trim this edge a little bit and the bottom of these a little bit so that we can slide that in. I think I'm gonna go after it with the Sawzall.
So that guide you saw me using earlier was the aluminum flashing. So I am reusing that aluminum flashing on the outside, and it makes a great guide for cutting the new one. I have pressure treated wood I'm using to make it, and so it will last.
Time to see if it fits. I'm gonna plane just a little bit right here. I'm gonna use the hand plane on this.
Good old made in the USA hand plane.
Try and fit it again. That's gonna go in this time. It's gonna take a little convincing.
This one went in pretty easy. Some of the other ones didn't go in so easy, but that was thanks to that Sawzall.
I like it. Now I'm gonna cut some pieces to go under, keep this angle. Probably a little less angle, it's pretty angled. But do that, and then I'm gonna screw it down. Okay, I'm using some 3 1/4 inch screws to drive through and attach this.
I'm using a little scrap wood underneath of it that I pulled out of the window frame so that they're all the same angle.
Now, I need to frame in the sides so that I can have something to attach the window to. Alright, now I'm going to use these 2 1/2s. I'm going to toe screw in here and screw them to this. So we got something to attach our windows to.
Last time I used 2x2s to frame this out, but I went to the store this time and it was so expensive for 2x2s, sorry. But I actually just bought some 2x4 studs, and I'm really happy with the decision, because now that I have that table saw, I went down and rip cut them to the exact width that I wanted them, and it's working out so well to have them fit right, and it's just smooth and seamless, and it fills the whole space, and way cheaper than they wanted for those 2x2s. I don't know why they want so much money for a decent 2x2 these days, but here we go.
So this is the first window I've done since I've had that table saw, and it is so nice to be able to just cut these pieces to the right width that I need them. These outer pieces are not attached yet because I just wanted to cut them before lunch. I just did that, got this in before lunch, but you'll see I need to do a little bit of sealing. So I'm going to go outside and do it first and then seal in here. Once I'm sealed up, then I can put these inner pieces on, attach them with screws, and then this window is pretty much installed for now. I can move back on to doing sheetrock after that. There it is. I just used the white caulk to seal all the way around the window, and I ran out of white, so I actually ended up using the clear around the edges here, which I think will be fine. It'll disappear nicely. That's done. It's done on the outside. Now I just got to go finish the inside. Well, that ought to prevent the airflow. Next, I am going to put those side boards in, kind of help lock the window in, fill the void. I'm going to put those in with screws, and then I'll check back in with you. Alright, I got the sideboards on. Now I'm going to take a little spray foam and fill in some of the bigger gaps, like this gap here. There's gaps all underneath here, and I've got another gap right around here. I'm going to fill that in with spray foam, and I think at that point I'll use up the spray foam elsewhere and call it a day. Well, the storm is blowing in, but that's okay because we got the new window installed. All the caulk on the outside has had a chance to dry. So now, today I'm going back to doing this sheetrock, so I'm going to do a light sand on the ceiling. I'm going to sand these walls here, they're ready to be sanded, and then I'm going to texture the ceiling, and that's probably going to be about good for the day. And then tomorrow hopefully I'll be getting on to the paint. So to get started here, I got my bucket with water. Primarily I'm going to use this sanding sponge, and I'm going to wet sand so that the dust doesn't get everywhere. I've got a few other sponges in case I just need to do some cleaning around the edges, particularly around the remaining paneling. And I do have a piece of old sandpaper just in case I need to do a little dry sanding. Hopefully we don't have to use it. One other tool I'll be using today, the scraper, gets used a lot. And I'll use that to knock off these little things like this, these little burrs that got left over. And just like that, it's pretty much gone. And then we can take the wet sand here from our bucket, give it a little squeeze out so we don't have too much water in it. Alright, and then we'll find the same spot, hit it with a little wet sand, and there you go. That's going to do, because like I said, we're going to texture the ceiling. So I'm going to go ahead and do this whole area just to pull what of this little mess I can out of it. And every once in a while we're going to rinse our sponge. That's it. I'm going to go ahead and do this ceiling. Alright, I'm not going to lie, that's still a messy process, but I'll have to clean this up. But before you write off the wet sanding, here's what I kept out of the air by doing this. All of this mud in the bucket is pretty thick water, and it's all not in the air now. So I'm going to stick to the wet sanding. I know the pros use a rotary sander with the vacuum, and that's probably better, but it really just wasn't in the budget for this project. And so I didn't buy one, and I'm not really trying to become a professional sheetrock installer. Just trying to get through the project, so not really wanting that tool in the shop. Alright, a little wash of the face and a little lunch, and we're back to it. So I am going to texture the ceiling. To do that, I'm going to use the roller with the large nap. I've got my beastie drill set up with the mixer, bucket with some water and some mud. I'm going to add mud, and I probably need more water by the time I'm done. But what I'm looking for is the consistency of pancake batter. So we're just going to add a bunch of mud, mix it up, and see if we can't get there. And I'm going to need quite a bit to do the ceiling, probably 4 scoops like this or so, how to do it. We got our bucket of mud, in goes the mixer. Okay, I think this is about going to do it for me. Maybe a little runny, but I want a thin texture, so I think it's going to work. Now it's time to get messy again. First we're going to start by giving a good dunk, getting a nice coat like that on the roller, and then let it drip a little. We're going to make sure to get this on the ceiling instead of on the floor. Yeah, right, huh? Alright, here goes nothing. That's dripping everywhere. And I'm going to roll this out until I get the desired texture. Like I said, I don't want a super thick texture, so I'm really looking for something kind of thin. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm not doing a very good job filming. Kind of like that is what I'm looking for. Probably can't even see it on the film. Birthday to me. It's taking like a half day today. Not working too hard. We had a cool storm last night, but the tornado missed us by about 12 miles, so that's kind of nice. So as you can see up here, I've got the texture done on the ceiling. Yep, and now before I paint, I'm going to run a bead of caulk around all the edges to just kind of seal it all up. And so I'm going to get that done today. That's probably about all I'll really get done today. And I did cover that window in plastic just for a little extra privacy and to protect the new window while I paint tomorrow. Alright, welcome back. And today is paint day. I'm gonna go get the supplies ready and then get to painting. I had to clean off the lens a little after all that sheetrock business, but we're gonna start by giving it a good shake. We want to get the paint nice and mixed up. This paint's been sitting for a while, so I'm gonna mix it real good. I'll check back in with you when I'm done. So if you remember last time I tried spraying and it created a big mess. This time I'm just going to trim out with a brush around the edges, and then I'm going to use a roller, and I think that's going to go much quicker and save some paint. So let's get going trimming out. So I'm going to be a little careful around this paneling, but I don't really need to be very careful here because I'm going to paint all that later. Same here. So really the only, well, this is really going to be covered up with trim. So the only place I'm really going to be careful, even though it is going to be covered up with trim, is around the edge here of the paneling. Alright, I've done with the hand painting around all the edges. So I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to get on with the roller and cover the main spots. So I've had this roller in this plastic bag stored in the basement because it's nice and cool down there, and it feels like it's still moist, so I think it's going to work for me. Okay, after I got it out, it's too hard here at the edges, so that's a no-go on this one. Time to break out a new roller. Okay, I got my roller on my extension arm. I'm gonna dip it, roll it, and I'm gonna get this paint on the ceiling. Takes a minute to really get the thing saturated with paint when you first start with a fresh one. Alright, here we go. Yeah, it's gonna work. Nice solid coat, my first coat here. And I will go ahead and go over it a few times just to make sure there's no excess spots of paint on this. I want it to look nice and pretty when I'm done. Get nice and close to the corners but not touch the wall, because we already trimmed that out. So we don't need to get too close. Coat number one is done. Now while I wait for it to cure and dry a little bit, I am going to go ahead and have some lunch. After lunch, I'm going to get a quick second coat on here just so we have a nice looking finish, and then I'll be done painting. Alright, I'm all done with the final coat. I almost ran out of paint. I had to mix up almost all the touch-up I had left to get the second coat out of it, but we got there. It's done. Now it's the weekend, time to go to dinner, and next Monday I'm going to start by putting a ceiling fan in, so I got some more light in here. We're off through town to dinner. Rosalie said I could choose any place I wanted, and so we're going to the Japanese steakhouse. Yeah. We got some ominous clouds, but we're not supposed to have any tornadoes tonight. The one the other night missed us by 12 miles. So, you know, nice comfortable margin, right? Well, that's pretty high for the river, but we still got a little ways before it exceeds the banks. So hopefully we don't get flooding. That river is really flowing now. It's supposed to get a little higher by Sunday. Maybe we'll come check it out.